Hi, I'm Rod Chappell, and welcome to the Rod Chappell Show. This afternoon, we've got an amazing segment. We usually like to bring real legal issues to people in a way that you can use them. There's no better demonstration of that than this particular race that we're looking at right now. We had asked that both of the candidates running in the Republican primary for the Cole County Prosecutor be with us this afternoon. Locke Thompson is challenging the incumbent, Mark Richardson. We didn't hear from Mr. Richardson, and so we're just going to go without him. We missed the opportunity to engage in this valuable debate because we believe that free and open discourse is the only way to make sure that the values of Missourians can be heard. Today we've got Locke Thompson. We'll hear his plans for the office, what he thinks is important, and what he'd like to change. If there's no other segment of the Rod Chappell Show that you watch, I think for this primary, you've got to see this one. Locke Thompson, thanks for being here.
Rod, always good to see you. How you doing?
Good, good. Can you tell us about yourself? I know that you've been out campaigning and that there have been some other debates. What is it that people need to know about you and your experience?
Sure. Well, as you probably know already, I grew up here in Cole County. I'm a graduate of Helias High School. Went on to law school at the University of Missouri. And after my time at Mizzou Law, after passing the bar, originally the plan was to go into the Marines as a JAG officer. Got out to officer candidate school and unfortunately had a nasty leg injury out there that caused me to end up coming back home. From there, took a job in the Jasper County Prosecutor's office where I had my own criminal docket. I also ran the mental health court docket and the Veterans Court docket that we had down there. And eventually I had the opportunity to come back and work for Attorney General Hawley as a special prosecutor in his office. And so I was going around the state handling public corruption cases, sexually violent predator cases, offenders trying to get off the sex offender registry, handled a lot of those, defended the highway patrol in those lawsuits, and just general crimes, specifically a lot of issues with child abuse, crimes against children.
Wow. Wow. That, you've packed a lot into a short time there.
I sure have.
Yeah. What made you want to be a Marine?
You know, I think there was always a call to do some type of service, and I already knew I was going to law school at the time and started exploring the idea of going the JAG route. Mm-hmm. And it just so happened that the Marines were the first to reach out and recruit me, and after a while I really bought into what they were selling, and I know I talked to some of the other branches, and it just didn't seem like the JAGs in those branches had to go through quite as much. They weren't held, well, I don't want to say not held to the same standard, but their training was a little more abbreviated, and I figured if I'm going to do it, I better go the whole way.
All right. Well,
obviously didn't work out, but you know, that is what it is.
Hey, I think anybody that volunteers for service, sometimes it goes the way you see it going, and sometimes you just end up on another path, but that doesn't mean that the work or the things that you're doing are any less valuable.
True.
Tell me, what is it that you see in the prosecutor's office that you would change as prosecutor?
Well, there are a number of things I think that need serious change. Number one, you know, we were asked about this actually the other night at the City Hall Forum. Mm-hmm. With regard to what would I change about the treatment courts that are currently in place. And I said, I don't know that I would necessarily change much about the treatment courts as they are, so much as I would really like to add a co-occurring disorders court or mental health court program. You know, currently a lot, you know, I think it's 80% of folks who are incarcerated have an addiction issue, and about 75% of those folks also have some sort of mental health issue. So what you see a lot of the time are people who are, you know, not necessarily bad people, but they're either stealing to feed their habit, to self-medicate, things like that. So they're engaging in these petty crimes because they're caught in this cycle. And while drug courts are great in that they, you know, offer substance abuse treatment and they may offer some counseling, things like that, they're not going to be really tightly geared toward the other issue, mm-hmm. which is driving everything, which is the mental issue, the bipolar disorder or the paranoid schizophrenia, things like that. PTSD was a common one we saw in Veterans Court. So as far as that goes with the treatment courts, that's a change or an addition, I guess, would be a better way to put it, that I would like to make. I also don't think our county is making very good use of all of its resources. Currently, my opponent refuses to take cases in front of one of our judges, and that really just creates a backlog. It creates a delay on the cases where that change is taken, and at the end of the day, county taxpayers are the ones paying for that, because you're talking about a 2-month delay every time a case is changed from that judge, and if someone can't bond out, that's $4,500 out of the county taxpayers' money.
Well, and I wonder by how many people that happens to.
Yeah, I'd have to go in and look at that, but you're talking about somewhere between 800 to 900 felonies roughly filed a year, and so you're saying a third of those, because we have 3 circuits, so a third of the time that's happening, it's happening on about 300 cases. As to how many of those folks can bond out or not, I'd have to go in and look at more at that. But
Sure. That is significant, and of course being held in jail as a citizen is an issue that's been in the newspapers and in the media widely. Lots of places are holding people under circumstances that most of us wouldn't think they need to be held.
Sure.
Do you have any observations about what the role of the prosecutor is? A lot of people may not have had any experience with the criminal courts, and so can you share that with us?
To put it in the most simple terms, really, the role of the prosecutor is to do justice. And, you know, that means a different thing in every case. You know, every case is unique. Every single person involved in every case comes from a different background, from a different set of circumstances. Those are all things that should be considered in going through criminal cases. There's this idea that, you know, just because you put someone through a diversion program or a treatment court program, that's being soft on crime. And that's not how I see it. I see that as being smart on crime. The role of the prosecutor is to do justice, to make sure that the right thing happens, that we get the right result, but that we go about it the right way.
In talking about the right way, I know that, well, frankly, in Cole County and in some other jurisdictions, there's been problems with the way cases have been tried. Evidence hasn't been provided. People have not been allowed to complete their jury service based on literally who they are, skin color at times. I know there was a Western District case about that. Is that something that we should expect from a prosecutor's office, or should they have to follow the law like everybody else?
The prosecutor should absolutely be the one. When you're the person charged with enforcing the law, there's nothing more important than following the law, in a sense. You know, you can't be hypocritical in that way. And that's the way I see it. You know, my opponent, I know, has been sanctioned once, at least, for failing to timely disclose evidence to the defense. And as the prosecutor, you owe a duty to the entire community, to the victims of cases, to the community as a whole, but you also owe a duty to that defendant who you're prosecuting to make sure you're doing it by the book, doing it the right way, and, you know, to make sure, for one thing, that you don't end up with cases coming back down on appeal, costing the taxpayers even more.
If there were one other thing that you were going to tell the people about this race, why you should be prosecutor, why to vote for you in the primary, what would that be?
It's pretty clear to me right now, Rod, that the Cole County Prosecutor's Office is operating with a certain level of complacency. I think you start to see that when folks have been in office for a while. That's not necessarily exclusive to my opponent, but every once in a while it's time for a change. And I've been fortunate to serve as the special prosecuting attorney for nearly 20 counties around the state, and that, with my time in Jasper County, I think I've got some really new ideas, some new ways of thinking. Certainly have seen all around the state how a lot of offices operate, some good, some bad. I've taken a lot from those offices as well, and I'm ready to implement those ideas here.
All right. Well, thank you. Thanks for being here today.
Absolutely, Rod.
Thanks for joining us on the Rod Chappell Show. Now, while this concludes this segment, I'm a little concerned that we didn't get to hear from both of the candidates. Mark, if you have an opportunity, give us a call. I'd love to take you up on a chance that you might want to share some information with the public about what you've been doing for the people in Cole County throughout your tenure, about some of the criticisms that have been raised in the media, whether that's in the News Tribune or on TV, and so that people can understand who you are. I'm sorry you couldn't be with us today. And for all those people who are watching, I want to make sure that we are certain about what happens on August the 7th. It's important that we vote in every election. It's an American tradition. It's one of our key values. And it used to be a part of the Constitution here in the state of Missouri, that everybody got to vote. Don't let anybody describe or prescribe what your future is going to be without you having a say-so. That's what your vote means. Please join us on August the 7th when we vote, and please share the information you gained here with friends. Thanks for being with us on The Rod Chappell Show.